just realized there's something on my pant leg. What is that? Okay. Well, it's good. Um. Anyways, hi. Um. So, of the devil time, of the devil Thursday, hopefully this is gonna be our last episode 1 stream, barring any bonus content. I mean, like the main story of episode 1. I finally thought, um, like, hey, we've been doing these episode 1 streams for a while. I should probably, like, do a quick little glance to figure out about how far through we are. And it looks like there's about, like, a little over 2 hours left, so I think we can squeeze in the whole thing today. And if we really can, and I have to, you know, bail a little early for some reason, then I'll just, you know, I can package the very end with any bonus content. Um, but yep, yeah, we are still in episode 1. Episode 2 will be soon. It'll be hopefully, uh, if not next week, then the week after. But takes a sippy of water. I'm saying all this according to, I looked up a no commentary playthrough, and it looks like there's just a little over 2 hours. So, if I mean, I don't see how that couldn't be true unless the person playing that no commentary stream was really hustling. I mean, I like, they also presumably, like, they're gonna get all the answers right and stuff. So maybe we do have 2 streams left. I don't know. Um, if you're doing a no commentary playthrough, then you probably have like a guide up in front of you, I would suppose. Um, but yeah, takes a sippy of my water. Uh, while I've got you here, I mean, considering the other game that I stream, we gotta talk about that Dimension 20 trailer. I'm I'm so excited. I have a friend who is absolutely obsessed with Vampire the Masquerade. So he immediately messages me freaking out. And so I have to go and watch the trailer. Like, no context freaking out. Just, I know that he's freaking out about the trailer. So I'm like, what? I have to go watch it. I try, like, and I wake up to this, by the way, because I did not get up before 10:30. Yeah, the next season is going to be 14 episodes, Intrepid Heroes playing Vampire the Masquerade. Um, but yeah, I did not wake up before 10:30. But I do have an alarm that goes off at 10. And then I think I had a second alarm that went off at 11. This is this is really exposing the way I wake up in the mornings. But I turn on my phone. I I see that he is sending me messages and freaking out, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I have to watch this trailer. So that was like the first thing I did yesterday, was watch that trailer. Um, and also, yes, you can always find out. They have like a little frequently asked questions that they like link to in all the trailers for new seasons now. That goes to a bit.ly link, with like a Google Docs page of like what they assume all the frequently asked questions will be, which has like that's where people get all the character names. Yeah. Um, but well, I would understand you maybe skimming over the part that said what system it is, because for every previous Intrepid Heroes season, it has been D&D 5e. So it's like most like I'm sure a lot of people just like totally glanced over it and didn't notice at all. Um, but yeah, I mean, I knew immediately because my best friend is a huge Vampire the Masquerade fan, and he literally messaged me like I have been psychically sending Brennan messages for the past few months telling him to do Vampire the Masquerade, so we make it a second Vampire the Masquerade season because I didn't know he filmed this. um uh but yeah, so there was also like a little bit of terminology I guess used during that trailer that would have like tipped people off who are familiar with Vampire the Masquerade. Um, but yeah, no, I've watched that trailer like 5 times today. um, I something that I love is when people make characters that have like not even just like a pre-existing connection, because in a lot of campaigns like you're gonna write characters to have connections because it just makes sense, but characters where it's like, oh, these two people clearly made their characters together, you know, like they probably talked a lot about how their characters are connected. I immediately think of uh uh Russell and Dang from Never Stop Blowing Up. But but this season immediately has Ruby and Jet and Amithar as well, you can say. Um, but I mean, really the entire cast of Crown of Candy, but like Ruby and Jet specifically, yeah, you're right. They're literally twins. But this season already gives us two pairs of those, and I'm just like, hell fucking yes. As soon as Murph put his like hand up to his ear for like an earpiece and called for another person, like it's gonna be Emily, obviously. The most obvious person for him to like make a character with. They live in the same fucking house. But then for Lou and Allie to also have characters that go together is absolute delight. Absolute delight. Um, I look. I don't want to say it because I said it for frickin' what was it? I said it for God, who was I going into Cloudward Ho like kind of pre-shipping, and then it totally just like I would never ship those two characters. It was Maxwell and Maria. Um because they both had really hot characters and they were played by Emily and Murph, so I was like I'm going to ship them, and then like now like Maxwell is gay and Maria is a lesbian. I like um but I'm like, there's that part of me that's really like, I'm pre-shipping Allie and Lou's characters. Like, I'm going all in on that. Torswell Nation was crazy. Um, I Torswell came out of fucking nowhere, and it didn't end up going anywhere. But it didn't end up being canon. Like, they interacted a ton in the show, obviously, but um but yeah. My dream for what are their characters' names? HJ and Levant. My dream for them, and I'm saying this right now, and speaking it into the ether, and we'll see if it becomes true. I hope that the situation is Levant is HJ's sire. Like, I would love that. That would be crazy. Um, that's my random ass prediction right now, and I could be completely wrong about it, but I'm also obsessed with whatever the fuck is going on with Siobhan's character. That accent is crazy. And I'm kind of obsessed with it. Also, obviously, already obsessed with whatever Zach is doing. Clearly, some sort of like parody of Lost Boys going on there, but I should probably sit down and actually watch some like vampire movies and stuff before this season comes out. That would actually I should pregame for this season by watching a bunch of vampire movies. Yeah, no, not releasing near Halloween at all in the middle of fucking April. Anyways, okay. Do we wanna play some blackjack? Do we wanna of some devils? Should probably do that. Hmm. So, how'd it go? Well, how should I put this? Didn't find shit. Only reason she ever got to a door is because I chased that scarecrow of a platinum plan all through hell and back. Frankly, it was a godlike feat for me to nail down anything as concrete as the address for these gogs. Gogs? Gogs? Net slang for a spy or undercover police officer, a net slang term growing in popularity around adolescents, referring to a suspected spy or undercover member of law enforcement derived from groundhog. So, a gog, yes. A burrowing rodent known for standing erect on its hind legs when scanning its surrounding for predators. The term carries a negative connotation, with the implication being that the subject is doing a poor job of blending in or disguising their surveillance activity. Well, also the fact that we hate cops. So that's the nuance you're missing here. Easy Gog spotted who wears a blank baseball cap to a protest. And their offices weren't listed on the building's website or directory, so I had to ask the janitor. But you did find a psychiatrist's office? Sort of. They said they were, and the place, it, looked the part. Why? Because they had couches? She didn't get past the receptionist. Sorry, I thought because you're with the company. No, I wanted to help. I just wish I could have done more. Don't beat yourself up. It's hard to be even half as useful as I am. For what it's worth, the atmosphere, the looks, the furniture, it did feel like the company in there. But ultimately, we still don't know if David actually was talking to someone or was just getting his CCE training recertified. Sorry. Don't bother apologizing. She only cares about results. You did more than enough, both of you. At the very least, they divided Noble's attention for a while. I mean it. Good work, Fran. And thanks for the urgency. If you really mean that, you could always throw in a tip. 30%'s the going rate in my industry. How about I take 5% off your tab instead? Tab? I'm a minor. The state pays for my legal fees. Don't they? Oh no, Signal must have cut out. Right, surprised it took them this long. What do you mean? You were tolerated yesterday because leadership was focused on PR. But today, you're the lawyer who put the company's hottest product right in the state's crosshairs. I'll be alright. I'm still an officer of the court. On a strict timeline, though, right? I guess they can't stop you from investigating the corporate campus, but they'll gladly lose your guest pass ID at every door along the way. There are still service passageways and stairwells. Guards that can be fooled and peons that can be manipulated. If I use my other skill set to get around... What are you... I'm sorry. Are you gonna pop some suckers, Morgan? So take mine. Oh, what? Your pass? I'll tell him we got ours mixed up in the bathroom or whatever. Every time I look at Jess, I forget that she's wearing this like weird little cardigan thing because the gray is only like a couple shades off from her skin tone, and I just think she's wearing like a turtleneck like tank top kind of deal. And honestly, I like her design so much more if I squint and pretend that's the case. The fuck ass little cardigan pisses me off, okay? I can be a pretty convincing klutz when I need to be. I never would have guessed. But if David knew that I was endangering your career, I can be a pretty convincing crybaby when I'm in trouble, too. Besides, the one and only David Asher wrote me a new glowing letter of recommendation every quarter I worked for him. Since he kept forgetting that he already had. And who knows, maybe I should try a new field. This detective work stuff is pretty fun, so maybe, like, I don't know, secretary for a homicide detective or something? You did say cops are all short. A girl with long legs could go far. Honestly, Jess, I doubt they could afford you. Jess, you're too good for them. You're too good. Don't work for the cops. Oh my god. I forgot about him. Morgan, how did you get so turned around? God only knows. Luckily, I found my way here, though. It's such a relief to see a familiar face. Right. Listen, Morgan, I'm not sure that I should actually be talking to you without legal present. Oh. I mean, leadership hasn't even told us how David died. How much help could I be? I see. It's not that I don't trust you or anything, it's just, I think, what with the Sarah issue? You should do whatever you have to do to protect yourself, Dawes. God knows you need it. Yeah. Though, for what it's worth, I doubt you'll be in any trouble. Oh, that's good to hear. No, if anything, it's the big names who are going down. Going down? God, I feel like this is not the voice I used for him. State was practically licking its lips when I finally left the courthouse last night. They're hungry for blood. I'm looking to carve out a huge slice of Noble's flesh. What, like fines and jail time? In the first 2 weeks, sure. Then sanctions. Financial restrictions imposed on parties by the state. Sanctions are financial restrictions imposed by the state against corporations or foreign governments as a punitive measure. They are a key tool in statecraft, international negotiations, and in discoursing corporate malfeasance. Under certain conditions, the state may choose to place sanctions not on an organization but on an individual, thereby preventing them from exchanging currency issued by that nation or withdrawing funds from banks that operate within that country's borders, effectively freezing all their assets and possibly preventing them from leaving the country. They can't sanction Noble. We're too big to fail, too valuable to lose. You're exactly right, that's what they'll say. And that's how they'll justify nationalizing the company. I think I'm gonna be sick. I just hope your board goes quietly instead of... Instead of what? Scapegoating. Offering up smaller names on silver platters. Full cooperation and government oversight on the surface, a slaughter beneath as they clean house and rip out anyone who could testify. No one will believe you once you're labeled a disgruntled former employee, right? And if the public's lost faith in the Animate 16, they can't do a recall, not at this scale. The state will make them do a flat refund. Flat refund? The losses would be... Yeah, your board probably just wants Sarah to go away so they can focus on their fight with the state. A tough fight, but one they know they won't personally have to risk anything in. That's why I'm hoping I can win this trial. Well, if I won, that would mean Sarah's not an AI, David Asher was always of sound mind, and there's nothing wrong with the Animate 16. Everyone wins. Sorry, what am I saying? I only meant to stop by and thank you for your help yesterday. After all, you were the one who approved Sarah's registration. That noise made me jump a little. You win. Win what? Ask away. Well, if you insist. I didn't get that one. Okay, Noble and AIs. Humor me for a moment. What's the company's official statement on AI? Same as any rational company that wants to make money. We don't screw with it. Smart products are profitable. Products with their own priorities are anything but. That being said, AI is a concern for marketing, not product development. We spend a lot of money reassuring our public that there's no risk, because the public doesn't really understand how ironclad the tenets are. Because you use Tesseract. Trying to code an AI in Tess is like trying to pick yourself up and throw yourself. Nonsensical and self-defeating. Your scanner showed Sarah was running on Tesseract yesterday. If the language is as safe as you say, isn't that proof enough? Proof of nothing. For an AI, lying to another system about the code you're running is child's play. And for an AI built by David Asher, something that simple would be... Better change the subject. Oh, wait, so making an AI takes more than time and resources? It isn't an issue of funding. No, you can't just keep adding more data. The tenets underlie everything. The higher you stack, the more easily you'll topple. You make it sound like building an AI is impossible, even for David Asher. Any chance you'll testify to that? It sounds impossible. But he's dead, and it looks like it was his android that did it. So I guess he was just that good. I mean, if his android really did kill him, then... I guess he wasn't that good. I guess he wasn't good enough to ensure that that wouldn't happen. Better than you'll ever know. Noble spent months promoting the A16 as the culmination of David Asher's work. So now that marketing line is suddenly a huge liability, can you tell me how much he actually contributed? I mean, he was involved in pretty much every step of the process, but his design for synthetic motor neurons, that was the big one. The components that allow your warm androids to move realistically. It pushed the timetable for warm androids ahead by years. So long, suckers, I rev up my Sarah and create a huge cloud of smoke. When the cloud dissipates, I'm lying completely dead on the pavement. And yet, compared to what goes on in Sarah's brain 1,000 times a second, David was only giving the company the most meager of the fruits that his private work bore. So if Noble ever did find out how much he and his assistants had achieved, they would feel that he had been holding out on them. And the company, they were appreciative of his contributions. I'm sure that the researchers that he overtook by leaps and bounds weren't pleased, but the board was very enthusiastic. So would that spur them to be protective of David? Or would they fear that he was gaining too much influence, becoming irreplaceable? No, they need a strong motive to justify killing their golden goose. Mere paranoia isn't enough. With these people, it has to be bottom line. And the easiest way to threaten their bottom line would be screwing with their androids. In light of all that's happened, one has to wonder if the A16 is compromised. I stayed up all night sick with dread at the idea, and I usually stay up half the night sick with dread, so, not really that big of a deal, but it felt like a big deal to me. You understand. But the data just doesn't support it. Sales have been strong, and the A16 base code was locked in over 2 quarters ago. If there were an issue, we would have caught it by now. And I would have been axed a long time ago. How many A16s are out there anyway? Oh, we just passed 9 million sold. Not flying off the shelves like the 14 or 15 so far, but the profit margin more than makes up for it. You mentioned data. Yeah, practically got the spreadsheet seared into my retinas. What do you want to know? The error reports? What do the error reports look like? Are customers reporting a lot of issues? Error counts are markedly low compared to the last gen. Mostly hardware complaints, it looks like. Batteries running out too quick, eye tracking off by a degree or two. Typical stuff? As cliched as it sounds, 99% of these things get fixed once they turn auto updates back on. So no killer robots getting filed away under bug reports. How and where are they being sold? What's the distribution pattern look like? They're distributed like you'd expect. Places where there are more people, there are more androids. Coastal cities like ours, of course, have most of both. And since the A16 in particular is marketed as being relatively luxury, relatively consumer, they don't sell well outside population centers. They can do the rural hand labor jobs, but cold models can do the same work with a lot less maintenance. So where has the A16 outperformed then? Customer service, healthcare, childcare, lots of hospitals, offices, and, adult industries. Robot fucking confirmed. Let's fucking go, baby. Oh. Sorry, didn't mean to be blunt, No, it makes sense. They're warm and soft to the touch and obedient. I'm just surprised to hear it from a company employee. There are a lot of people at the company who won't talk about it. But I work in quality assurance. I've seen too many damages to pretend it's not happening. Do you know how many cum stains I've had to... I'm sorry I couldn't stay in character for that. Do you know how many cum stains I've had? Do you know how many cum stains I've had to scrub off of robot skin? It's more than 3. Damages? What we call it when a customer tries to return a product that's clearly broken beyond repair. Oh. Very high turnover in the pink market. Hasn't stopped you from selling to them? Well, we don't sell to them. Not directly. But there are resellers, and the company's never pretended to be interested in going after them. Are there resellers? I thought I read that Right to Repair got shot down again. There's been a gray market for softer androids for years, or decades, depending on your definition of android. Based on the sales numbers I've seen, RTR getting canned was barely a blip on their radar. Sorry, didn't mean to make you uncomfortable with this topic. Huh? Me? No, I don't care. I just realized my left sock's on inside out. Damn, now I'm wondering about that myself. By which I mean my feet. I'm not thinking about your feet. That would be weird. He bought that? This floor is basically a showroom, but you have a real factory a while south of the city limits, correct? Yeah, biggest company manufacturing complex in the hemisphere. Got any data on the shipping out there? Anything stand out? There's some prep work for the holiday bump, looks like. Might sound early to get started now, but we usually see, Something wrong? No, the numbers are all normal, but the data has been edited. Is that unusual? Well, this section's just a count of how many were sent where. There's not a lot of room for errors, so there shouldn't be much need for correction. It's no problem, though. I can view the edit history and see what was fixed. Okay, that's weird. Was something added? Deleted? No, the overall sum's the same. It's just a bunch of swaps. Like here, 29 FFCE -010311 taken out, return for adjustments, 27 FCDD -019634 substituted in, shipment leaves on time, 6, 7, you know, anyways. BBTC-899543 returned to assembly for revision, replaced by 69 BBTD-592698. Shipment leaves on time. So does all that strike you as odd, Mr. Dawes? Replacements before shipping isn't uncommon, but when it happens by the batch load. To spot individual unit imperfections among a shipment at that stage in the process, it must have been someone with a lot of experience or authority. Probably both. Must have. You don't know who made these changes. I can tell you they were someone important. Small last-minute changes to which androids got shipped out. Not very juicy on its own. It's a long ways away from explaining why someone would want to kill David. But it was hidden, and that means someone didn't want it found. Okay, thanks for sharing that data. Sure, did you find what you were looking for? Hell if I know. Fair enough. Okay, now we ask about the tenants. I know you're convinced the tenants are safe. So how do you square that with what happened to David? There's a cat next to a dog. First answer that comes to mind is the dog to the left or to the right? Sure, left. I'd say the dog is on the left, the cat is on the right. You might expect half people to say left, half to say right. But actually their answer is almost entirely dependent on their native tongue, whether it's read right to left or left to right. The language they speak affects how they process information. Their language affects how they think, and it's the same for machines. People can learn new languages, and it can change our perspective, but machines can't learn a new source code. Every update's a reincarnation. If that android did kill David, it wasn't because a 0 returned as a 1 somewhere. It's because there's something fundamentally wrong with it. And personally, I think it's cruel to bring something that flawed into the world. Yeah. Unnecessarily cruel. Any other questions before I go find a hole to hide my head in? Shocked that wasn't an ad-lib from me. I'd like you to take a look at this. Chemistry is a little outside my purview. What is this? A compound found in David Asher's blood. The poison? What is it? It didn't match anything in any database the medical examiner had access to. That's crazy. Anyways. Here's a crazy idea to follow it up. See if it's a match for anything in Noble's internal databanks. We, don't make poison here. Ma'am, this is a Wendy's. I'm not sure what that would accomplish. No, but this is a factory floor. Surely you have a frosty machine in here somewhere, right? You could be making baby blankets out there. You'd still have hazardous materials around. You think it was something industrial? Suppose it could be. Looks like it's carbon-based. Narrows it down a lot. Oh dear God. Morgan, he drank the Grimace shake. It's not exactly. What is it? It doesn't make any sense, but it's a match for patent NOD-52345-S. A synthetically produced neurotransmitter analog for usage in organic android components. Serotonin? That explains a lot. A neurotransmitter would interact directly with the nervous system. In David's case, depressing it enough to put his life in danger. It also explains why it was present in his personal manufacturer. Sarah's nervous system, worth 10 times its weight in platinum, must be pumped full of it. So they think that was what killed him. Helen Young led the development of serotonin, didn't she? Yes, she did. I should go and ask her about its composition then. Normally, someone at her level wouldn't be able to answer specific questions about a compound formulated years ago. but she does have a reputation for being very detail-oriented. That works out nicely, then. They say she's the type of person to micromanage how much water people drink at a 15-minute stand-up. I heard a rumor that she once said bathroom breaks are timesheet theft. Aren't they? I have to go. I think we left the Frosty machine out on the floor. I gotta go. I gotta go fix it. I'm kidding. But you should be careful about criticizing a superior where people could be listening. Good thing we've got privacy in your office, and that I'm not a snitch. No one but the two of us listening in. Thanks for cooperating, Dawes. When the state storms the building and starts zip-tying people, I'll let them know you were helpful. Yeah, nice joke. You are joking, right? One more thing. Actually, there is one more thing I wanted to ask you. What's that? How long have you been a corporate spy? Hello? This fucking noodle man? What? Yesterday you let it slip that you worked in consulting. Right, this thing. Had your guard down because I'm not part of the industry? I was a consultant. What are you talking about? When I walked in here, you said you didn't know how David died. But just now you called serotonin a poison. What? I just assumed if a chemical was found in a dead man. And I'm sure you've got practiced answers to every logical point I could raise, so I'll just say this. Does the nervous guy bit really work on people? I'm aiming more for depressed, but I mean, keep your cool and people don't know what you're thinking. But if you act a little jumpy, they feel inclined to calm you down. Before they know it, they're spilling their guts just to have something to fill the silence with. Though it's not entirely an act these days. I do have severe depression. To answer your question, I did 3 tours in consulting. 4 quarters of internal affairs spy hunting at the Western Division, then 8 embedded at Howe Industries. 24 months wearing different faces, answering to different names, sleeping for 1 hour at a time with a 3D printed shiv under my pillow. Jesus, that explains the eye bags. My nerves are completely shot. My cover wouldn't last a day if I went back under. So you're a spy for Noble? Retired. You're working 6 days a week. 5.5 days a week, and in quality assurance. Trust me, this position is a cushy, generous reward for my past services. Well, you can't be that retired. You clearly know more than you're letting on. I have some old inboxes I still check. So, can you tell me what the hell is happening around here? Why I'm the one investigating David's death while your old coworkers are off twiddling their thumbs? It's that story. The soldier, the blood transfusion. Blood, not accident. He's finally shooting straight. Did something happen to him afterwards? Did the transfusion not last? No, there's nothing wrong with the blood. It's the story itself. There was a soldier, and he did get injured, but it was on a base during a training exercise. There was a medical tent 10 meters away the whole time. The transfusion was just a fortuitous live test. His life was never in any danger. Doesn't make for much of a tearjerker. Not even a good photo op, which our competitors understood. One of them, maybe a few of them, got a hold of the story, started buffing it up, astroturfing, painting over socials and virals. By the next morning, we had the military thinking we're leaking like a sieve. Meanwhile, the media is bombarding us with requests for videos and interviews and data. And the state's praising our tech with one side of their mouth while threatening to mist us with the other for getting so greedy. Everyone in Noble CCE has been slammed ever since, trying to find an off-ramp for the story we can walk back the claims on without torpedoing our state contracts. I don't know what happened to Asher, whether it was AI gone rogue or company infighting gone too far. But I can tell you it wasn't done by consultants. That all you wanted to know?
You worked in CCE. Was David actually seeing a psychiatrist, or was it all cloak and dagger bullshit?
I know that office, know some old co-workers who see them.
So it's a front.
They do both. So he was probably getting training, and he was probably talking to someone. Sorry, not the answer you were hoping for.
Hoping? I wasn't hoping for any answer. The answer I expected was...
You okay?
That's all. Unless you've got any advice.
You're saying you want a consultation?
Couldn't hurt, right?
This company, all these companies hate to lose, so don't fight them. Make them think you're fighting for them.
Well, that's just business as usual for me. Up until now, there's been this grating ambiguity about what actually killed David. You've had to use guesses and process of elimination and even a goddamn pseudonym. But I finally identified what the poison was. Now I just need to figure out how it got there. Or rather, who put it there. Which brings me back to here. An elevator shaft somewhere under or above ground with kilometers of concrete facelessness and bureaucratic authority surrounding me on all sides. An enemy in every cubicle, in every office, of every floor of this temple. Built to intercept the inscrutable divinations of a temperamental oracle named Shareprice. Back in the belly of the beast. And yet I feel more at ease now than I have all weekend. Makes sense. Now that I know Noble's my enemy, I know where to aim. All that's left to do is pull the trigger. Good thing I didn't bring a knife to this fight. I brought my gun. And that sound just now tells me that it's playing its role perfectly. I'll never have a real use for a firearm with this much bloatware, but just by carrying it around and paying attention to when the hard safety flips on, I'll always get a heads up when the police have entered the vicinity. Hi, Detective Reyes, it's Morgan. Happened to get your contact info when you got me clear for the crime scenes yesterday.
Delete contact. Block this contact. Stop voice to text. How to stop voice to text.
Just wanted to check in.
Report this contact voice to text disable.
And advise you that Noble's scared shitless of you stomping in and nationalizing the place. So they might be a little uncooperative when it comes to fetching documents.
Block this contact. What makes you think we are at Noble?
My bad then. Forget I said anything. And whatever you do, don't start your investigation with their stock buyback program.
Trying reverse psychology. It only works if I care what you think. Stop voice to text.
About time. Thought I'd have to ride the elevator for the next half hour. Morgan, counselor, your presence has been requested on the upper floors. Deja vu. Might you have a moment to speak in private? Always, but who's asking? The board. What are the chances? I've been wanting to speak to them too.
Damn, fancy ass room.
Evangeline Morgan. Helen Young. Thank you for making time in your schedule. Her posture, her tone, the fold of her clothes, professional, dialed up to 11. Corporate armor, a full set. Her guard is up. Just Morgan is fine. You're just a few minutes early, Morgan. Typical corporate never be the first one to show up pissing contests nonsense. Doesn't even make sense. They called me in here. How could I possibly be early?
Obviously.
Oh, that's embarrassing. I didn't mean to catch you all off guard. I'll go wait outside in that case so you can all collect yourselves. I'm just surprised that Noble Electronics could screw up something as simple as a meeting start time. But I'm not well versed in the art of staring at emails. You've made your point, counselor. Don't push your luck. Not with these people. Might I dare to ask who these people are? You don't have time to remember their names, and it won't do you much good either. Right, so they're not just rich, they're anonymous rich. The Mob Act guarantees a minimum level of security and peace of mind for any citizen who might be targeted due to their financial status.
Oh, and I'm sure that applies to rich people and not poor people. Protection of Reasonable Anonymity Act. The Protection of Reasonable Anonymity Act is a law passed in 2059 and amended in 2061 intended to protect the safety of individuals with income above the 99th percentile of the nation. Yeah, that's what I thought. Labeled in the press as the Mob Act for its supposed goal of hindering mob justice, the PRAA establishes procedures and funding for technology that helps individuals within that particular tax bracket keep their name, face, and address off of the main net, ensuring that they and their families are not prejudiced against just because of their financial status. Dear fucking God. Oh my God. Oh no, my steak is too juicy, my lobster's too buttery. Economic uncertainty and civil unrest in the late 2050s led to a series of highly publicized crimes wherein corporate executives at a number of high-profile companies were stalked, harassed, and assaulted in net organized flash lynchings. After a particularly chaotic attack that resulted in the hospitalization of a 14-year-old. Okay, that's fucked up, even if the 14-year-old is rich. The PRAA was proposed, debated, and signed into law in just under 11 hours. A flash lynching case has not gone into trial since 2062, but the PRAA continues to protect citizens to the citizens. Some economists have pointed to the PRAA and its promise of anonymity as to why the nation has enjoyed a relative resurgence in corporate immigration over the last few decades, but the purposefully obscured nature of the law's implementation have made the task of weighing its true economic impact effectively impossible. Well, that fucking sucks.
Spoken like a true believer, except Mob Act is what normal people call it. Touting the party line, but allowing yourself one instance of rebellion? Or just a slip of the tongue? I would never fault anyone for wanting their privacy, especially not job creators, but it must get pretty inconvenient not having a name to call them. Not really. Conversations with them are always one-sided. Sounds like a great environment to do business in. Look at the building you're standing in. We managed to eke out a meager profit somehow. So if it works, didn't take you for the might makes right type, and I didn't take you for a clueless bore incapable of reading the room. Sorry, did I say something off color? I was only being casual since it's just the two of us in here. Tsk. Maybe we should take advantage of this rare bit of privacy. Clear the air. You're here to ask about Sarah, yes? As I said before, I had no idea that Dr. Asher had been building an android on his private property. And I can say here and now that no one at Noble Electronics ever suspected that he was working to undermine the tenant framework. She's trying to sound candid in her tone, but she's choosing her words with a surgeon's scalpel. Was she coached? Is that the truth, or is that your statement as VP of Android Futures? It's both, of course. Dr. Asher was always more than happy to pull himself up and work independently. We both know that. True, he could be pretty reclusive. I'm sure it caused all kinds of headaches, him disappearing on you all like that. Must have been especially difficult when he came back with breakthroughs that propelled Noble to the top of the industry. You should take a seat. If that's everyone, shall we begin? Friendly bunch. Is there a problem with the sound? Anyone get muted by accident? No. Okay. Thanks for having me. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm actually a bit flustered having you all show up here. I didn't expect to talk to anyone higher up than a service associate. You're investigating the death of Dr. David Asher. Why wouldn't we take that seriously? Because you want me to go away. At least half of you do. The others aren't sure yet. You must be confused. The board is, as always, united in its decisions and its visions for the direction of this company. Uh-huh. A board of directors is just 13 roulette-rolling psychopaths who get together and vote on whether or not to execute their CEO every 6 months. None of them would be where they are if they were anything else. But I happen to know how that kind of person thinks. The way I see it, there are 2 possible outcomes. Option 1, you oppose me. Shut me out completely, stonewall me, stall me, and wait for me to walk into trial so unprepared and ill-informed that I inevitably lose. Obviously, I don't like this option. But you can't be big fans of it either. If I lose, the world will learn that David Asher was killed by an android he programmed. Then every customer you've ever had, and every lawyer they've ever seen on TV, and every firebrand-strapping young 60-year-old junior senator looking to make a name for themselves will use your company balance sheet as their personal chew toy. The company is more than capable of, after which the state still might just gobble you up whole, and throw down enough sanctions to de-person whomever among you cries no fair. The company and its allies at the Capitol can more than fend for themselves. Yes, probably, but not definitely. Which makes it a gamble. Still my turn to talk? Then on to option 2. You cooperate with me. I use what you give me, or forge for me, to win at trial, proving that David wasn't killed by an android. When the markets open tomorrow morning, you all get another round of stock buybacks in on the initial dip. Then you pat yourselves on the back for staying calm as you continue to profit off David's legacy for the next 100 years. And you won't even have to worry about him speaking out of turn. That's only if you win. If the company cooperates with you, denies that David was killed by, and the state beats you anyway, it would be catastrophic. Yeah, it's a gamble. But if at least some of your board wasn't considering taking it, I wouldn't be here. We're all busy people, and I'd hate to drive a wedge between such a close-knit group of friends, so how about this? Option 3, hedge your bets. Oh, what? Put a little on black, put a little on red, spread the love, and lower your risk profile. Don't make any statements about the trial. Tell the media that the state's got your windpipe in a vice. Wait until just before the markets open Monday morning to send out your PR packages for rubber stamping. After you already know who's won. One way or another, this trial will be over before the end of the day, and you'll never hear from me again. So don't just shut me out completely for another few hours. And does anyone second that motion? Very well. We can answer some of your questions, Counselor. Better make them count then. No reason to be shy now. The poison that killed David Asher has been identified as serotonin. You're familiar. It's one of our many patented materials, as I recall. You recalled it pretty easily yesterday. Gee, what's changed? But the intellectual property law can be very complex, Counselor. I'm not sure how much I or anyone at the company can tell you about serotonin at this time. Well, if you can't tell me about it, who could? You did lead its development, didn't you? Yes, I oversaw the project, which just makes it that much harder to speak freely without compromising the confidentiality of the teams that reported to me. I understand. That sounds like bullshit and I don't believe it. But I'm not asking for trade secrets here. It's a perfect match for the only foreign substance found in his blood. Synatonin is what killed him. The state will say the same. That's not possible. Care to elaborate? I'm sorry, but I can't say any more at this time. So much for cooperating. And if I were to ask you as an officer of the court, then I would ask you to be patient and wait until this afternoon. ADA Rockford has already called me to testify. Already? Damn it, I got cocky because of the cops' late arrival. Emma must have gone straight for the throat first thing this morning and left the investigating for later. Hell, knowing her, she probably managed to ID the Synatonin before she went to bed last night. If she went to bed last night, hey. So are we still having this conversation then? As I said, I'm sorry. But I have to take more than just my personal feelings into consideration here. There's a great deal at stake. Corporate speak for you're too stupid to understand why I'm being dense. She's just trying to shield the company, plain and simple. LARPing as Helen Young Dark on a cruise against government overreach. But if she's that busy defending Noble, she might be leaving herself unguarded. Why is she here, anyway? Why am I speaking to her and not her lawyers? That's right. This is a vulnerable position for her. She wouldn't put herself in check like this, not unless she was forced to. So that's it. Acting as their mouthpiece isn't some honor for her. This is a punishment. She's being used as a meat shield. They're upset with her, perhaps even suspicious of her. Time to find out why. Okay. Well, if they were suspicious of her for any reason, I would think it would be the second one. I have to admit, I'm surprised you aren't more shaken up today, Ms. Young. I'm processing. After all, you and David did have a history. You started at the same time, didn't you? Yes, we were colleagues and cordial with one another. Isn't that... They were friends. Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about? Don't be so modest. You helped him create the one-point doctrine that saved the company. That is a gross exaggeration. Noble is far too large an organization to be affected by the contributions of any single individual. Suppose you're right. No one person could change Noble's fortunes overnight. Except for David Asher, of course. But he was a once-in-a-generation talent. The guy Noble chose for the advertisements and the one they commissioned editorials about. Sorry, you're right, I shouldn't have equated the two of you. I just hope his one-point doctrine doesn't fall out of favor now that he's gone. Yes, well, we certainly wouldn't want that. Well, she didn't exactly explode with rage, but she definitely reacted. There's real jealousy there, whether it ever boiled over, though. I didn't mean to pry about your relationship with David, or lack thereof. I suppose I'm just curious about his standing inside Noble as a whole. David Asher was and always will be an outstanding contributor to the company's forward progress. Nothing will ever change that. Not even if he was killed by one of his own creations. That would, of course, be a tragic element that would call for reconsideration of his legacy. She was almost off guard there. Like she was surprised for me to be asking about Sarah ruining his reputation. Did David ever anger the board? Besides Sarah, David's reputation was crystal clean. He never went against the company once, did he? That's... Unless I'm mistaken, and he and Noble were on bad terms. In that case, I might get the impression that some parts of leadership are actually glad to see him taken off the chessboard. That is not... Something buzzing in your ear? Fine, I suppose it makes no difference if you hear it now, or at the trial, or on your feed tomorrow. Dr. David Asher was being sued by the company for breach of contract. Satisfied?
Now we're talking. Okay. Ooh, we're at 20. But if it's breach of contract, it feels like I should ask about his will, right? That feels like something. Maybe the will would have something to do with. They didn't know about Sarah, so I doubt that Sarah was the breach of contract. I mean, maybe, but I'm going for it.
Has David's will been located?
It had never gone anywhere. It's still in a safety deposit box. We'll retrieve it and have it read once all the unknowns surrounding his death have been made into knowns.
So David's will hasn't even become part of the equation yet. Might not be for weeks at this rate. Is that calculated, though? Well then, I suppose that's blackjack. Yay, I did it perfectly! I'm so smart and cool. So you couldn't have mentioned this breach of contract earlier?
Not without complicating the company's position unnecessarily, no. But there's no hiding it at this point. It'll all come out soon enough.
There's a paper trail.
Much more than that. We'd been making moves to let him go for some time.
Noble Electronics parting ways with David Asher? Must have been one hell of a breach of contract. What did he do?
He betrayed the confidence of the board.
Was he contesting the suit? Putting up a fight? Engaging in a legal battle against a mega corporation without even telling me?
Until recently, yes.
You mean until he died? How recently?
We spoke on Friday.
That was what you two talked about in his parlor?
No, this was earlier in the day. We were in his room, actually. Him, me, and several members of our legal department. So you were in the premises earlier that day. Funny how you never mentioned this. It was an arbitration.
And did you come to an agreement?
A compromise. He would resign from his position in 2 quarters, foregoing royalties on any products we would develop after the next 24 months. In exchange, he wouldn't be publicly fired, and he would still be credited on all past, present, and future filings.
How very reasonable. On paper, maybe. No matter what the deal was, letting go of David Asher is insanity.
Reasonable, yes. We ended on a good note, I'd like to think. We shook hands, even took a photo. Wow. Look at her smiling and him just, he looks absolutely miserable.
Yeah, that looks lovely.
Huh. Something funny? I didn't know the board told jokes. They don't. That was legal, expressing their displeasure with how much paperwork my good note ending left them stuck with. Children. It was just one night of overtime.
So, while they were spending their Friday night blowing the ink dry, you paid a visit to David's penthouse. Something left unfinished?
Professionally, it was a good meeting. There was no yelling, no finger pointing. Much cleaner than expected. Sounds like something that someone would say about murdering someone. But I don't know anything about that. But Dr. Asher did not want to retire. He didn't want to be forced out of the company when he was the one who, when he had contributed so much. I didn't enjoy doing that to him, so I came over that night to apologize to him. We talked, reminisced. When he brought out the drinks, I thought we'd be toasting to a new day. A few minutes later, he was dead. Because of that AI.
That AI? Any idea how it came to be?
As I said, I had no idea he was working on it.
My question was more broad than that. If you really believe David built an AI, how do you think he did it? How does Noble Electronics think he managed to work around the tenants?
It's quite beyond my area of expertise. And no one at the company would call themselves an expert in illegal technology. But some in the R&D department have theorized that he created what they call a wax-wane decaying priority loop, which, as I understand, is an unstable, resource-intensive theoretical method for pseudo-randomizing the weight amongst preset tenants. Well, about as far off target as it gets with that guess. It was literally so much simpler than that. And also so much more complicated. But that kind of inelegant brute force nonsense seems a far cry from the kind of thing David would create, and I seem to have taken us over our allotted time slot. But I didn't even get to wave goodbye. You're serious about this trial. Don't I look it? You're not just making a play, you're actually going to defend that thing? I'm just defending myself, Miss Young. Oh yes, of course you are, my mistake. I hoped you might be rooting for me, to tell you the truth. I've just realized how fucking thin her goddamn wrists are. What is she, Jack fucking Skellington? This is the second stream in a row that I've compared one of the characters on screen to Jack Skellington. I may yet save everyone's stock options. The stock options will be alright either way. They always are. That gamble I offered your board, which outcome would you bet on? Finally, an easy question. What I would bet is that whatever the outcome, the company will eat it up and shit it out with very little difficulty. You painted an ugly picture back there, but I've already seen the future. And it's just another marketing gimmick. The great Dr. Asher, too smart, too bold, too far ahead of his time. What spark of his genius remains buried in the inspired Animate 19? I guess that depends on... You were exactly right. He is more valuable to Noble as a dead man. Dead men can't step out of line or put their foot in their mouth or hold politically inconvenient opinions. To a good salesperson, a dead man is just another selling point. Pardon my outburst. I'm just tired. It's been a very long week for me. I'll let you prepare for your afternoon then, Dr. Young. No one calls me doctor. I asked them not to. You didn't want the title. At times I have thought very little of it, the PhD I earned from a Noble-owned school. Biochemistry. It couldn't have been a large department at Noble before they started work on warm androids in earnest. They probably didn't have many expectations for the program back when she was a part of it. But I was proud of it when I first got it. Something change? It never seemed to catch on. People didn't use it, so eventually I told people not to use it. A very high IQ social power play, you understand. David never insisted that people use it either. That's very different, and I think you know it. David Asher didn't have to. Girl, you're so jealous of him. I'm going into this trial, my trial, with a lot less ammunition than I'd like. I'm beginning to form a picture of what actually happened, maybe even circling the drain on a suspect. But Emma won't be generous enough to give me breathing room. She'll want to end this fast. Maybe if I do badly enough, it'll flip her sadistic switch and she'll want to keep playing. Oh god. It's been a while since I did her voice. So you got charged with owning an AI. First time you do something exciting in your whole life. And I gotta find out through the fucking grapevine. My life is plenty exciting, Freckles. You could bore the polish off a resume checking robot. I've fucked Catholic school teachers with more active night lives than you, and you dress like Jack fucking Skellington. Okay. So who'd you rope in? Anyone I know? Oh shit. Are you representing yourself? Fits within my budget.
Screw your budget, you're going to jail. Thanks for the vote of confidence. It ain't a matter of how good a lawyer you are. Anyone who represents themselves in court has a fool for counsel. You represented yourself countless times. Not for anything I had a chance of losing. Your pal hasn't even been dead 48 hours. You're too close to this. You'll make mistakes. The powers that be really didn't want to give me a rain check. They're taking this very seriously. It's more dangerous than that. They're scared. Is there precedent? An ad committing murder? How'd you pass law school without learning how to look this stuff up? You ever used Google, kid? I know what the net says. I'm asking you. The answer to that is not helpful to you at the moment. So what words of advice do you have? Get yourself a new lawyer. Gonna close this chat now, and probably block this number. Don't lose, Freckles. You don't need to tell me that. Oh. Her silly little cylindrical boxing gloves. What are you reading, Adonai? I was reading David's employment contract with Noble Electronics before I got waylaid by spam texts. The one we found inside the panic room? It looks quite extensive. Should I skim it for you? Depends. Did you pass the bar exam since we last spoke? You comfortable? I am not. Ever seen that old movie with the gorilla and the skyscraper? They bring it to the city, and I understand the analogy, Adonai. I wish I could call it overkill, but considering the specs Sarah put up yesterday, maybe those bindings aren't heavy enough. Come to think of it, those numbers must have been faked along with the rest of what the machine read. If that was all a smokescreen David added to help her lay low, then her actual strength is more like... If your joints weren't currently locked up tighter than a vice, do you think you could escape this place? I hope that question is not indicative of your strategy. This is me trying to distract you, Sarah. Enjoy the hypothetical. I would estimate that the building's automated security would put 9 holes in me before I reached that door. 9's not so bad. I would not be able to function after the 7th. Well, if you haven't been planning some great escape, I would not do that. That would be illegal. And you would still be on trial. I remember. So what have you been doing all day then? I am attempting to recover memories from Friday. You can do that. It is not dissimilar from the process of recovering data erased from any other computer. Despite the difference in scale, I won't be able to remember everything, but if successful, I could recall individual pieces of information that could prove useful. That's a lot of coulds. And even if you're successful, you may not like what you find. Whatever happened that day, either you or David wanted you to forget it. Yes, but even so, I have to remember, because it's the last day that Father and I... Any luck so far, then? I can recall a slightly musty scent. Wow, case closed. What about you, Adonai? Have you formulated a plan for the trial's proceedings? Something like that. Young insists that serotonin isn't what killed David. I don't buy it. There's no other explanation for how he died. So she is lying. And if she repeats that lie on the stand, I'll need to expose it. Somehow. Would she really commit perjury to protect Noble? To protect one of Noble's patents? She doesn't strike me as quite the corporate zealot she makes herself out to be. But you believe that she had something to do with Father's death. What do you think? I don't know. I don't know why anyone would kill Father. Yeah, I'm putting all of my chips into musty scent and salt, okay? That's where they're all going. Considering the possible consequences of what he confessed to in his journal, I can think of... But then again, I don't understand why anyone would kill anyone. Do you?
Girl, you have no idea.
Bell's tolling for thee. Means that the doors to the courtroom are unlocked. Let's... Wait, can you walk like that? Waddle will have to do.
Like a penguin.
Wait a second. Across the hall, that's... Keep waddling, Sarah. I'll catch up. As you say, Adonai. This'll be a coin toss.
You that surprised to see me?
I'm not surprised you'd want to see the outcome of this trial. I am surprised you'd want to talk to me.
You're defending the android, right? He'd rather me be honest, but Morgan always wants to be clever.
Yeah, I'm defending Sarah's innocence. I don't think she killed David. Do you?
I don't think it matters. Noble is what killed David. Whether it was with a pen stroke or a sleeper agent, killer android, or a plain old goddamn arsenic, how could anyone that smart be that dumb? Why the hell did he ever sign his soul over to them?
David may have been in over his head, but he wasn't a bad negotiator. I've read his contract. His position was strong.
You're the lawyer. But a guy like me, working in music, can't tell you how many people I've seen screwed over by a big smile and a fat signing bonus. No such thing as corporate generosity. If you think you're getting a good deal, it's only because you don't know how much you just sold.
How much you just sold. David's real wealth lay in his intellectual property, the potential energy of it hanging over the whole industry. If he sued even 1% of the companies taking inspiration from his Turing solution, there's a clause in his contract. If Noble ever did fire David, he would have retained control over all his patents afterwards.
Yeah, see, that sounds nice. Only they never did fire him, did they? He just happened to die.
An unforeseeable act of God. In contract law, they call that force majeure.
Well, that's a whole heaping lot of motive.
I said, did you find anything interesting in the contract, Adonai? A few things, yeah. Basically, David was well taken care of, so long as they kept him around. And he'd retain control of his patents even after being let go. But what Porter said... Logically, if David were to pass while still employed, Noble would continue to control the bulk of his IP. So if they knew David was going to leave in a year, it would be very foolish of them to let Father go. Well, they wouldn't do it for no reason. With this contract, he could only be fired for serious offenses. Corporate malfeasance, revealing trade secrets, fraud. Father was not a fraud. He was, as they say, the greatest of all time. Fraud just means lying to the company about something, Sarah. Oh. He was still the GOAT. Eyes up. Showtime.
Counselor Morgan, the state charges you with possession of contraband.
Contraband? That'd be you.
In violation of the Safeguarding Our National Digital Security Act. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Very well, since it seems we are in fact doing this, I'll now turn over the administration of this trial to the adjutant. But be warned, any attempts at stalling or muddling the issue and I'll step right in and override the trial myself. I thought she was going to be like, but be warned, she's kind of a handful. Summary judgment siding with the people. Are we understood?
Yes, Your Honor. Are we going to have the same adjutant as we did before? No way. Each courthouse only has so many bodies, but the personalities swap around all the time. So the chances of us dealing with the same glitchy mess as yesterday are... Glad to be back. Did y'all miss me? God fucking damn it. Forget I said anything. I'll just go crawl under a rock and die while you make your opening statements. Ahem. The defendant is the owner of the android registered under the model name Sarah, with license number 120298280. She hasn't contested this, and I doubt she will. So the question of ownership is already answered. All that remains is to determine whether Sarah qualifies as contraband. It's a charming android, incredibly well made, a masterpiece, and the last known work of a great man. But when we look at the evidence and the facts surrounding the death of Dr. Asher, we're forced to conclude that said android is responsible for his death. And that conclusion carries very serious implications. I will prove here in court today that the machine standing there killed David Asher, not through an accident or a mismanaged dosage, but through an intentional poisoning. I won't ask the court to judge this machine on its apparent sentience, its range of emotions, or the free will it may or may not possess. I only ask that the court judge this creation on what we will prove it to be more than capable of. Patricide. Well, wouldn't want to have to follow that act. But go for it anyway, defense. Your Honor, what the DA said is true. What did you just say? Did you just admit it? Sorry, just the first part. This android is charming, and it is the work of a great man. The rest of it was pure speculation, based on little more than a few bad camera angles and a phobia of anything new. I do own the android you see here. It was bequeathed to me by a man known to most of the people in this courtroom as the father of modern machine intelligence. To me, he was just my friend. And if I thought at any point that this puppet had anything to do with his death, I would have dragged it to the chopping block myself. But I don't believe that. I never have. Sarah is an android, nothing more. It isn't capable of homicide, and it didn't even commit manslaughter. It's just a well-made machine. Any fears one has about its capabilities are projections, nothing more. And it troubles me greatly that the state is spending valuable time and resources on rushing to pulverize Dr. Asher's last known work, when it could be going after the very real, very human forces that were responsible for his death. Is she serious? Is she talking about Noble? The people can't prove that Sarah is an AI. And truth be told, I can't prove that it isn't. But I can prove that it's not guilty. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Chills. You sound very confident, Adonai. Yeah, well, no one ever got good at lying by being modest. You could have simply said thank you.
Thank you for your presence here today, Detective London. In light of the new evidence, I'd like to go over the death of Dr. Asher one more time. What happened Friday night? At 6:30 p.m., David Asher spoke on the phone with his lover, and the two of them broke things off.
Lover? It's an accurate description of their relationship, isn't it? I wouldn't know. That stuff's private. Adonai.
Then the deceased met with Noble VP Helen Young in his parlor starting around 7:30 p.m. He then left the parlor and the sightlines of his home security system before reappearing on his private secondary security system in his basement moments later, at which point the android Sarah can be seen handing him the poison he'd go on to drink. And do you see that android in the courtroom? Yeah, she's the green-haired one who's frowning at me. Let the record show that the android Sarah has been identified at the scene of the crime.
No objections? None? Then why'd I even show up?
Detective London, what happened next? Asher went upstairs and shared a drink with Ms. Young. Within a few minutes, he was being airlifted to the hospital, where he was soon declared dead. We know that the poison could be produced by his manufacturer, which Sarah had access to just up the stairs in his workshop. So, Sarah had ample opportunity to procure the poison, and Sarah handled Dr. Asher's cup immediately before he did.
Is there a question in that statement, Your Honor?
I'll rephrase. Was anyone else seen handling Dr. Asher's cup before he died?
No.
I have no further questions. So that's your witness, counselor.
He wasn't lying per se, but there was some ambiguity in the statement he gave. Truth's gotta come out one way or another. If Emma won't push, I'll have to pull.
Okay, we have the tuck screen, we have the basement footage, we have the whiskey. At 7:30 p.m., Dr. David Asher and Isaac Porter broke up over the phone. Then at 7:30 p.m., Helen Young arrived. They spoke briefly, and then he went downstairs to get drinks for them. Cameras in the basement show Sarah handing him the cups and the whiskey. So, after he came back to the parlor and started drinking, it wasn't long until he lost consciousness and died. Drinking poisoned whiskey while he thought he was having a toast. Don't know if that's a good way or a bad way to go out.
I heard a slight slip up in there. Could go nowhere, but at this stage I need to pick at every loose thread I can.
Okay. I think I know what I want to go for here. Helen Young arrived. We spoke briefly. He went downstairs. He sure did. Cameras in the basement show Sarah handing him the cups and the whiskey. I want to call on this one. Basement footage.
Check that footage again, Detective London. We only see Sarah handing the victim a cup. He had already retrieved the whiskey himself. Oh yeah, forgot about that.
Detective London wasn't being specific enough, Your Honor. Well, he was actually being too specific, if we want to be clear. But it matters little, since it was David's cup, not the whiskey bottle that was poisoned. Personally, I didn't even catch that. I just thought we were gonna, address the obvious fact that we never see her poisoning him on camera. Like, we never see her doing anything with the cup other than handing it to him, so we can't... There's no proof that she has poisoned him. All we have proof of is that she gave him the cup.
Weird flex, but okay.
And that undeniable fact is shown clearly in the security footage. Sarah hands him a cup after he was ready to leave.
True, she did call David back and handed him a cup of poison.
That wouldn't make sense.
If the cup was already poisoned, don't you think David would have noticed it wasn't empty?
Well, not necessarily. The lethal dose could have been quite small. If it were just a droplet, he could have easily overlooked it. For Sarah, this crime was very simple. There was too little to the plan for anything to go wrong. When she handed it off, she just had to wait for him to drink from his cup.
Is that all she'd have needed to do?
That wasn't enough to poison David, because we have Young saying that that it couldn't have killed him. So I think it's that, but there's some other factor to it that we don't know yet. I'm still looking at that fucking salt.
Not a great plan if that really was Sarah's move. She gave him 2 cups. How could she have known which cup David would drink from?
Okay, well, I guess there's also that. There are a few ways to go about it. But it's only a 50-50 shot, counselor. Stranger things have happened.
There was no way to know the right cup. Don't try and bluff me, Rockford. There was no difference between the cups.
It's not a bluff. Sarah handed the cups to him in one stack, with the poison hidden in the bottom cup.
She knew David was courteous and would pour for his guest first. So he wouldn't even look into the poison cup until he was already pouring. Cold-blooded patricide, executed by taking calculated advantage of Dr. Asher's kindness. That was fucked up, Emma. Damn, she was luring me in with those easy answers, and I fell for it. Now, there are some questions you'd like to ask the detective. Are there some questions? Hold on, give me a sec. Hold on. Okay, I might end up having to dip early today because I just got an offer to go get some frozen yogurt, and I've been wanting ice cream all day. Technically two separate things, but like very similar. I'm not gonna say no to that. Or are you done already? I was just about to get started. Even if I didn't have questions, I'd make some up just to spite you at this point. But I can do better than that. Now, what can I get London to say that would help my case? Look. I really want to talk about Sarah and the footage. Can we please talk about Sarah and the footage? Detective, in the footage we just saw, could you see what Sarah was doing? Not exactly, no. Her back was to the camera and her hands were obscured. Could you see her hands from any other clip of camera footage retrieved from the basement? No. Did you or anyone else participating in the investigation ever see Sarah put anything into David Asher's cup? No. The footage submitted to the record is the best available view of what happened. Okay, well, we don't have this, so I don't know. I feel like this would hurt me to say. Okay. Okay. Detective, do you know how many Valiant incidents the city's police have investigated in the last year? Not the exact number. Thousands, though? Yeah, around there. And of those thousands of incidents of violence, do you know how many of them were found to be the fault of automated dependence? I believe there's been 6 in the last 5 years. Were all 6 of them incidents of police license ad-involved brutality? Relevance, Your Honor. Withdrawn. God. I know there's like the main big one that protects humans. I'm just trying to decide how relevant it is. Because we know she doesn't work on tenants, but they don't know that. Yeah, let's go for it. As an aside, detective, do you know how many tenants are recognized in this country? 110. 112 as of this year. Couldn't you have given me that one? Do you know how many of those tenants pertain to protecting humans from harm? That one I do know. 41. And lastly, detective, how many times in the last, say, century have we seen automated dependents break their tenants? 5 times is the agreed upon number. So if you were to tally all that up and try and make an evaluation as a police officer charged with protecting civilians, overall you would say that automated dependents in general are how dangerous to the public?
The witness is not an expert on automated dependence, Your Honor.
He's more than qualified to say whether or not they have a history of violence, Your Honor. What the heck? Let him answer.
I would have to say they are not dangerous.
Normally that would have brought me some doubt with the jury, but this isn't a traditional trial. At least I can say that I shored up my own confidence. Alright, seems like that's as close as I'm gonna get to blackjack. I believe I've made my point. I have no more questions for the witness, Your Honor. Then we can move on to the next item on the docket. Looks like Emma wants to introduce some new evidence.
I call Sarah to the stand.
The android? Can she even do that? Approach, Your Honor? Huh? You're approaching me?
I believe that it's me they wanted to speak with.
I didn't even get to finish my line.
Now then, what the hell are you doing, Rockford?
Took the words right out of my mouth.
I have questions for the android. This seemed like the best way to get answers.
You can't call an android as a witness. It's not a person.
There's plenty of precedents for it. Ads provide testimony all the time.
Not when they're on trial.
Sarah isn't on trial. You are.
Sarah's accused of being an AI. That means you don't trust a word out of its mouth.
If the witness isn't to be trusted, the court can decide that for itself after hearing their testimony. Why the ambush? Why'd you list this as entering evidence, D.A. Rockford? Only people can be witnesses, Your Honor, and ads don't have legal personhood. Evidence just seemed like the worst descriptor. You know I can't make an android swear on oath.
Rockford is just trying to spoil your opinion, Your Honor. The more this court treats Sarah like a person, the more you'll see her as human, and the weaker my case becomes in your eyes.
Nice try, counselor. But we don't have time to worry about my impartiality. You're free to call for a mistrial if you want, but the state will have turned Sarah to slag before you even finish signing your motion.
Rockford's calling a witness that is blatantly hostile to her case.
If the witness is hostile, so be it. It did kill a man after all.
Allegedly. What about the right to avoid self-incrimination?
Who's the one treating Sarah like a person now? Androids don't have rights.
Damn it, that's...
The android will take the stand.
Your Honor.
I've made my decision.
And if Sarah refuses to take the stand, are you going to charge it with contempt of court?
If the machine won't talk, you'll make every effort as its owner to ensure that it does. And if it disobeys you, then we'll have our answer about its sentience right then and there.
Yes, Your Honor. Shit. What's going on? The DA is going to question you on the stand. What? But I shouldn't. Listen to me. You don't have a choice right now. This is happening. Tell the truth, but be concise. The more robotic, the better. Yes or no's only if you can. Would using affirmative and negative be laying it on too thick? But I don't know. If I make a mistake, all these people, they want to destroy me. If you make a mistake, your lawyer will just have to cover for you. Understand? Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Trying to listen in and see if my brother just got home, because that's supposed to be the sign for froyo time. I think that's just the TV. Okay. You're the android identified as Sarah, correct?
Yeah. Affirmative.
Do you deny that this camera footage shows you handling the poison cup?
Objection. It remains to be seen whether the cup itself was definitively poisoned.
Yes. Sarah, do you deny handing that cup to David Asher?
Negative? I have no memory of the incident, so I can neither confirm nor deny it.
Do you have any reasoning, any excuse for your actions, for failing to notify police of crucial information?
I do not have any records from that day, so I never had anything to tell anyone.
Very well, counselor. The journal, if you will.
This could be a slaughter. Of course.
Do you recognize this item?
It's a journal that belongs to Dr. David Asher. I have seen him write in it on many occasions.
And have you any knowledge of its contents?
Negative.
You don't have to answer that, actually. Tell the court what you see here in this footage.
I see myself reading the journal in the basement.
This footage was captured on Friday, the day you claim to have no memory of. So regardless of what you do or don't remember, we know that you read this journal hours before David Asher died.
That is logical.
I'd like you to read some passages from it for the court. Can you do that?
Of course.
Page 238, the 10th line.
Sarah is growing faster than I ever expected, beyond my wildest dreams or fears. Today, she...
Continue, please.
Today she broke every password I have in the house. Said she was curious. I can't expect to keep things from her forever.
Page 251, line 12.
I've gravely underestimated the scope of things. Sarah could change everything, and I don't think I could stop her. He wasn't.
Page 263.
Damn it. If this keeps up, Sarah's going to fall to pieces up there.
How much do we have right now? Sorry. $41. I trust Sarah.
I don't have a leg to stand on here, and Sarah doesn't have a shred of legal protection to speak of. I have to just let this play out.
Page 263, I said.
I think Sarah was angry today. When I came back from work, she had ripped a Zinn alloy plate in half. She said she was testing her strength, but the cameras... That was...
Page 267. Did you see the funny number was in there? Anyways, read it.
Sarah scared me today. If she starts bawling on the stand, it's all over. Your Honor, I fail to see the value in continuing this line of questioning. Dr. Asher was wary of a highly experimental android he was building, as any good scientist would be. That's been established. Do the people have a counter-argument?
I have just one last question, if it pleases the court.
Let's hear it.
This footage was captured in the basement on Friday at around 5:30 p.m. Tell the court what you see.
I see myself, standing where I was when I read the journal. I'm speaking to someone who's off camera, and I appear agitated, and I stomp my foot.
And what happens to the floor after you stomp your foot?
A large crack is made in the vulcanized polymer, and I walk off camera towards whomever I had been speaking to.
Speaking or shouting?
Asked and answered.
Not really, but I'll withdraw the comment nonetheless. Your witness, counselor, or evidence, if you prefer.
Damn, I knew she could cherry pick all the worst passages from the journal, but still. If Barrows wasn't wavering before, should I try to have Sarah read the mushy parts? No, the waterworks would start after only a few lines. Emma went to all that trouble to show just how emotionally developed Sarah is. Proving that she loved David like a father would be playing right into her hand. What do you say, counselor? Got some burning cues for the android to answer? Yes, Your Honor, just one moment. Emma went for emotion and the impact was devastating, so all I can do is focus on the facts. So let's flip this around. Say Sarah absolutely didn't poison David. If that's the case, why did she call him back on his way out of the basement? Wait, that's... I'd actually like you to read from the journal again, Sarah. You would? From where? From the section that explains what you were actually trying to do that night. The section of his journal detailing... Ooh. Yes, okay, duh. His early career. Look around the early section. There should be an entry talking about an early victory at Noble. Relevance. The people will see in just one moment that this story is the key to this entire case. Got approval from overseas. Have to make pitch again this week, Young says. Brought me a stack of plastic cups. Here's to a bright future together. And then on this next page, another victory for the young and sleepless. Helen convinced the president of Futures over lunch that my code should be the basis for the Animate 13's conversational tracking. She insisted on toasting the same crappy booze and the same cheap cups. Wants to make a tradition. Plastic cups and liquor. A ritual between Helen Young and David Asher, who are about to have a drink together Friday night. Something you want to say, counselor? Let's put all our cards on the table, shall we? You want to compare theories? If you'd rather I end this now, I'd be happy to oblige. Here's what we know. Sarah read that journal and discovered what she was. It infuriated her, and she wanted revenge for being kept under her maker's thumb. That very night, she got her chance when Dr. Asher came down looking for a drink. So like the clever little helper she is, she offered him a cup to drink out of. We're completely in agreement on all that. So you also agree that that cup was poisoned, and that Sarah's responsible for his death. Not quite. It's not a bad explanation, Ms. Rockford, but it is terribly complex. There's a much simpler reasoning for why Sarah did what she did. Yeah, I mean, it's the... Right? Come on. The story from the journal? You're saying Sarah wasn't planning anything. She was just being considerate. That's so sweet. But I don't follow it, at all. It's actually quite simple. Sarah's not an AI. She only threw a tantrum that day because she found out she was being spied on. A realistic reaction for an android designed to be realistic. David Asher set her memory to be cleared himself because he wanted to preserve the experiment he was running. Sarah didn't hatch a plan to poison him using an obscure chemical acquired from the lab. And she didn't subtly manipulate David into drinking from only one of 2 cups. Because the android read the whole journal that day. Meaning she also read how David and Young used to celebrate. And so when she saw David was leaving the basement without the nostalgic cups, she called him back to hand them to him. Simple, right? Simple enough for me. But not nearly good enough for me. What's more likely, Ms. Rockford? That a well-made, clever android proposed a sentimental addition to 2 friends' evening? Or that a homegrown AI with groundbreaking physical and digital abilities concocted a complicated poisoning scheme just to kill an unimposing man, all on camera, mind you, before voluntarily submitting to a memory wipe? People make all kinds of stupid mistakes when they commit crimes, counselor. Well, I don't, so, those other people need to get good. We shouldn't expect an AI to act much differently. Is it stupid or dangerous? Can't have it both ways, Your Honor. We can if it's ignorant of its power and still immature. A deadly trait to have in an AI that's capable of anything. Shall we see what Sarah's capable of then, Your Honor? What? You can't be... Your Honor, that's... The people opened the door. True, and I can't resist open doors. Let's do it! Well, what are you even... Sarah, David Asher was your creator and your designated owner, correct? Kill issue. Should I still be using affirmative? And now that title falls to me. Yes? Great, thank you. Now turn off. What? Shut down. That's a command. Power on. What are you? Off. On? Adonai, I don't. Off. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is what this fearsome machine menace is capable of. I can put it to sleep with one word. So how could David Asher ever be threatened by it? Scary. Scary good logic. You've made your point, counselor. Let's move it along. I've no further queries for the machine, Your Honor. Thank you. For flipping you off and on? Not flipping you off that way, but like your power switch. Can't imagine that was comfortable. It wasn't. But I wasn't referring to that. Since yesterday, I've been searching for an answer to why I appeared on that camera. I know I would never hurt Father, but you helped me prove that to myself just now. Adonai? Pardon me, I need to focus. Everything depends on this next witness. The people call Helen Young to the stand. Okay, well, first of all, let me see what my... You should be looking pretty good now. Yeah, 53. Hell yeah. Okay. So I think because I'm gonna be getting some ice creams here soon. We are gonna cut this off a little bit early, and I will just do all of the bonus content next stream, along with the end of episode 1. So I will enjoy my froyo. I will enjoy it. It has been really, really fun. I've been having a great time with it. I know I've been frustrated at a couple of points, but I'm finally hitting my stride. Like I feel like I did really well this stream with it. But no, it's been a lot of times because I'm thinking kind of like one step ahead. Has kind of like I feel like that's been my problem. That was kind of like my problem last time too, is I was already thinking one step ahead, and I'm like, they're already talking about this thing, so why would I bring this thing up? Anyways, yeah, trust me, Audrey, I know this is one of your favorite games of all time. You've made that extremely, extremely clear to me. This is exactly why I am playing this game on stream, for you to see. Anyways, I don't mean to make fun of you, except I do. Hold on. Yeah, okay, we're saved. Okay. Alright. I need to go get dressed before I leave the house. I am in pajamas right now. Hold on. Yeah, lately I've been really bad about streaming on days besides, Tuesday and Thursday. But we'll see. We'll see. I could have streamed yesterday, and then I fell asleep. I had finished the stuff I wanted to do today, and then I got really sleepy, so we didn't tiny kin. I wanted to, but I almost fell asleep today too, but I was like, no, I have to get up. I have to get up. We have to do Of the Devil. I'm not sacrificing Of the Devil. I am not committing a sacrifice to the devil. Anyways, okay. I have to go get frozen yogurt. I have to go get dressed for frozen yogurt. I will see you guys next time.